Guess what? It is time for the next episode of Real Talk at the Barbershop, the virtual edition. And I am really excited because today I have the in, invaluable, incredible pleasure of speaking to none other than the man himself, Ben Hassan. Ben, how are you today, man?
I'm doing well. Times are turbulent for sure, but I mean, in so many ways, those of us who work for Walmart are blessed. And so I am counting my blessings every day and pushing through it like I think many, many other Americans are.
How are you adjusting to working from home?
You know, it's been interesting. I would tell you the first couple weeks. I mean, I'm fortunate in the sense that I don't have young children at home. I don't have elderly that I'm trying to take care of at home, except for my elderly self. And it's just my wife and I here. So the first couple of weeks was a little tenuous because, you know, I was in her way and I could tell I was in her way. But I think we've kind of figured out a rhythm here. And I'm, you know, plugging in breaks throughout the day, which has been interesting. You know, my wife will say, "What are you doing? What are you doing? You know, back in front of the TV?" And I'm like, "This is my break. I'm taking a break right." So, but it's going well. It's going well. I really can't complain.
Then you have a really, as chief diversity officer for Walmart, as chief culture diversity and inclusion officer. Let me use the official title uh, for Walmart. You get to see a lot of stuff. And I am sure that right now, in particular, what is going on with the pandemic, you have really seen some interesting stuff. Everything from hate crimes, people, blaming people for why we are going through the virus that we're going through to customers who are trying to shop and seem to have some challenges in just kind of getting their shopping taking place. What what are you sensing out there? What is causing all of this, in your opinion, and what can we be doing to deal with some of these issues and help?
Yeah, Tony, I think we're seeing kind of two ends of a spectrum here. I think on the one hand, there is a sense of this coming together for the greater good that we always see in times of crisis. I think our company is a microcosm of what's happening as it relates to that notion of coming together and being as one, you know, one humanity, and that's great to see. I think we're also seeing some of the bad behavior, some of the stress behavior that's created by the challenges that many, many families are facing. And I think some of the real negativity that is many times underlying in this country is really showing its ugly head right now. And what's interesting to me is it seems that the clickbait, the things that people are most interested in talking about are the latter and not the former. And so, you know, I would hope as we continue to fight through this pandemic and come out the other end, which we will. I mean, eventually we'll come out the other end, that the muscle we've developed as a country, as communities, as our company, the muscle we've created for the good is something that we continue to practice moving forward. But you know, a lot of what I'm seeing is disturbing, really disturbing. But there's also some really, really good things that are coming out of this as well.
You know, one of the things that we have seen as a result of the pandemic that we're in is just an unearthing of the inequities that have always, existed for a long time in our country. But it's really coming to light. You know, we've always seen, a disproportionate impact when it comes to health issues, economic issues, etc. but the pandemic has really unearthed it. Um, what do you think are the things that we are learning from this and seeing all of this? And how do we, what are the things that we should be really thinking about once we kind of get over the initial hump of this, right? Because as you said, we are going to get over this, but still there are going to be some challenges that continue to exist. What are the things that you think we should be thinking about and working on as we look long term at our lives post COVID-19?
You know, Tony, one of the things that has resonated with me through this whole pandemic, there's a quote from Martin Luther King, and it goes something like, of all the forms of inhumanity and inequity and injustice, the injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and the most inhumane. And I think it's showing itself through the disproportionate impact that the virus is having in communities that traditionally inequity has existed. So I think there's two things that we should be thinking about. One is, what do we do to address the current issue? And again, my hat's off to our company, because I think we've done all the right things around safety for our associates, safety for the customers. I think we've gone into communities and made contributions. I mean, we committed $25 million to the virus and recovery from the virus. I actually think we've spent more than that. But I also think there's another thing that we should think about long term, and that is, how do we think about these inequities in a way that there's long-term solutions? And I don't think there's an easy answer. But here's one thing I believe. I believe that charity to address inequities is not enough. I think public and private people, companies, public and private organizations have to get together and begin to think about how do we address this systemic inequity that has existed and has created some of these conditions. I think it's real easy to say, well, those communities, they're on public transportation, they're in customer-facing jobs, they live in situations where there's multiple families in the same building. I mean, we can excuse it away, but what we can't excuse away is that none of that was happenstance. It didn't just happen that way, and none of those people signed up and said, this is actually the way I want to live. And I think until we're willing as a country to actually get back and address the root of the issue, there'll be another pandemic, and we'll see the exact same thing happen again. One of the things I've been saying, at the end of the day, if we're going to be honest, this is a race-based problem that we're facing. And it takes race-based solutions to address race-based problems. And until we're courageous enough to actually talk about it that way, we'll find ourselves right back where we are. If you go back 4 or 5 years, many predicted that a pandemic like this would happen. And we just haven't been prepared for it. And because it's disproportionately affecting those communities, it tells me that we need to do something systemically to address it.
And Ben, it's very interesting that it's not just when we talk about the disparities in health that you mentioned, it's not just physical health. We also see that disparity in mental health as well, which I think it's unearthing itself in an incredible way today. You recently wrote an article in regards to mental health and celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month, and which I thought it was really well done. And so, just for those that haven't had a chance to read it, can you talk a little bit about your thought process as to your thinking on mental health and the need for it, and how we need to as well find ways of addressing those issues?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a personal passion around this. I have a younger sister, 2 years younger than me, who suffered from mental health issues from an early time in her life. And to watch the challenges that my mother went through, trying to get her the help that she needed, trying to get her the education, telling doctors, no, we're actually going to try to educate her and put her through a system rather than just sitting home. So I have a personal passion around this notion of mental health. I also know that 1 in 5 Americans suffer from some kind of mental health issue. And there's all kinds of stigmas around mental health. And so, again, I think that you can't solve problems until you've got the courage to actually talk about them. And when there's a pandemic, if you had an underlying mental health issue, and now you're out of a job, or if you got family members out of a job, you're not sure where your next bill's coming from, all this plays heavily on people's mental wellness. And the stress of this time is showing itself in a way that's affecting every single one of us. I don't think there's any one of us who can say that they can't see that it's affecting someone close to them, a family member. I just think it's time we spend more time talking about it.
Yeah.
That's why I wrote the article, to raise awareness. And it is Mental Health Awareness Month. So we'll be talking more about this notion of mental health throughout the rest of the month.
That's awesome. What do you see? What do you see as the biggest pain point right now for our company and for our associates?
I think the biggest pain point is fear, and I think some people are fanning the flame of fear. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about what we should and shouldn't do, when we should and shouldn't go back to work. Finding the right balance between the economic impact of shelter in place versus the safety and welfare of the people in our country. And so the thing about the human brain is we like certainty. We like to be able to predict the future. I mean, it is something that is a part of all of us. And this uncertainty creates a situation where we're all under additional stress. And so I think it's so important that each and every one of us find a way to take care of ourselves. Much like when you're on the plane and they say, if the oxygen mask comes down, put your mask on first before you help someone else. And I think we all need to be putting our masks on, whatever that is, to manage and balance the stress we're under. I don't know about you, but even though I'm home, I feel like I'm working harder now than I did when I went to the office every day. And so I had an interesting discussion a few days back with Doug. And Doug was saying, we have been on 24/7 for so long that we've actually started doing something we call tag out. And someone will say, hey, I'm tagging out for 24 hours. I'm not doing email. I'm not doing Zoom. I'm not taking phone calls. I'm not doing anything. Everybody knows I'm tagging out for 24 hours. Give me 24 hours to re-energize myself. And I think we all need to have our own form of tag out. Whether your boss tells you to do it or not, you're at home. Those of you who are working from home, you need to have your own form of tagging out.
What are you doing to tag out?
It's funny. I'm actually probably working out more now than I did when I was going to work every day. I'm getting up early enough to get on the treadmill or get outside. I'm spending more time in the evening. My wife and I are going for walks. We're talking about stuff we hadn't talked about forever, and we are kind of laughing about it. It's like, man, we haven't talked this much forever. I am a huge TV and movie buff, so when I couldn't go to the movies, I was depressed the first 2 or 3 weeks because I'm usually at the movies every weekend. And so guess what? Netflix and Apple TV are my friend. I mean, there are so many series I've watched. That's how I'm tagging out. And I will block time on my schedule, personal work time, that allows me to step away from my desk and the 3 computers on my desk and the phone, that's iPhone and the house phone, and just step away and leave it. The other thing I heard a great suggestion the other day at a town hall we had for the people group. And the lady said, don't plug your phone in by your bed. Well, guess where my phone is every night? Right by my bed. So I put it in the other room last night. And then when I woke up this morning, I was like freaking out. I was like, where's my phone? Oh, I put it in the other room. So give myself, just that period of time to self-reflect before I jump right back into it. Those are some of the things I'm doing to tag out. I've been wearing these jerseys to tag out, right? So I get up in the morning and I get dressed, and one morning I put on one of these sports jerseys. I've got a bunch of them. And I said, you know what? I'm wearing my jerseys. I'm going to wear them on a Zoom. I'm at home. I'm comfortable in it. It's a great conversation piece. People are getting mad because they're like, how can you wear jerseys for 5 different teams? Well, I'm a fan of the player, not the team. So I don't have to wear I'm not beholden to any one team. And it's interesting to watch how it is driving people crazy. The Kansas City fans, they're like sending me links to buy a Kansas City shirt. And I'm like, no, I'm not buying a Kansas City shirt.
We're going to wind down because I know that you're a very busy person, and I cannot thank you enough for giving me your time. But just a couple more questions. My next to last question is, what are you most proud of when it comes to our company and our associates, right?
I will tell you, Tony, that's an easy one for me. The innovation that I've seen happen as a result of the urgency around the pandemic is nothing short of amazing. But it's not surprising because, I've been here long enough to see it before in New Orleans. When there are disasters, the things that we're able to pull off in such short periods of time, only Walmart could do. I mean, our 3-step process to allow associates who didn't feel comfortable to come to work because either they just didn't feel comfortable, or because they thought they had the virus, or because they had the virus or someone in their family, and to continue pay for those folks. Our ability to hire almost 200,000 people in less than 2 months, to being able to go from 24 days to hire someone to 24 hours. I mean, our ability to pay people a week at a time or even a day at a time, all things that if we went off to do them without the pandemic, we probably would have come up with a million reasons why we shouldn't do it. And so we've developed a muscle for innovation. And I hope and pray that as we move back to whatever the new normal is, we don't turn our back on that muscle, because we've done some pretty cool things that I can't tell you the number of people I've gotten notes from all over the country saying it is amazing to me what Walmart's doing. But I think it all goes back to the fact, this is a business with a purpose and a set of values that set under that purpose. And it gives us the ability to react the way that we react. And I think we've got some of the best leaders in corporate America. So I can't tell you, I couldn't be more proud to work here than I am right now.
You are a true champion in my book, and I mean that with all sincerity. You are doing an incredible job for Walmart, for its associates, but just for this country as well. And so you should be very proud of the work that you are doing. I know that I am. And continue just driving this thing, man. And we will make sure to back you up every step of the way, because the work that you are doing is incredibly important. And know that from my standpoint, I'm incredibly appreciative of what you are doing. And so just keep doing your thing. Just keep doing your thing.
Tony, here's what I'll also close with this. I have learned to become a humble servant. I haven't always operated that way. So I'm really thankful to have the role models that I've had as I've been here at Walmart. I am carrying a baton that I think is a really important one. At some point, I'm going to pass it on to someone else. And I hope I've left enough in place that they can take it and lead on with the passion that I have for the work that I'm doing. So thank you for everything you're doing. And thanks for including me in your barbershop talk, man. It's been fun.